Hello, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me? Please respond. I hope you can hear me.
Hello.
I am Bamishi, and one of the community leads for Lagos, Nigeria, and would like to meet everyone here. Can you kindly introduce yourself? Um, Seeing the name next to me, I can't pronounce the name actually. Meet everyone here.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Hello, Kamisola, I can hear you. So today we want to work on the third project, or is it the third or the fourth project in the series? The one that we already have. Okay. Um,
Guys, I
let-
just want to understand more about, do you guys meet normally here to do the labs? Because actually I always receive the message from NextWork, because there is some people in Sydney and New Zealand doing some labs over here. I'm just trying to understand if you guys are part of the same thing or different people just getting together to study together.
okay. So NextWork has like different communities in different countries, right? And
Yeah.
the one, yeah, so this community is the one in Nigeria, Lagos in particular. And we work on projects every month. And since January, we've been working on the DevOps projects. So we've done series one, series two. Series one was just, getting familiar with the tools. The series two was connecting your GitHub to your um, Virtual Studio Code and also setting up a web app. Then making use of your instance as well. So that's what we've been working on. And today we are going further into setting up an artifact, a code artifact repository. So that's what we are doing today. So it's like a step-by-step process, basically. So you will launch an EC2 instance, you set up a web app, you connect the web app to your local VS Code or any other ID that you're using. Then you will now set up a code artifact repository. So that's basically what we're doing. So it's actually like a 7 series project where at the tail end we're going to have a live web app that we can see directly on our on the web, which would be, although it's going to be running locally, it's not, it's just going to be running locally. So, but this entire project shows you how to set up a web app, and you also learn about some CI/CD processes, and then possibly we can now do everything again with cloud automation, I think cloud formation, something like that. All right. So we'll be going right into it at the moment. I'll be sharing my screen just for us to follow step by step everything we need to do for the project, basically.
Yeah, no, I understand. So look, I'll try to watch us to see how you guys do it.
All right, no problem.
And Do you guys send a recording of the thing if someone has time to be at the front of the computer to see it later? Do you guys
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah,
We
because
have
if
a
you could,
live YouTube. A live is it's being streamed live actually. So you can always see it there after the project is over. And then you can always visit the project page and you'll be able to see all of this. So I'll be sharing the screen. Can you confirm you can see my screen? Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen now? Hello, Roger, are you there?
yeah, no, I'm actually I can see the screen.
All right, so this is project 3 of the 7-day DevOps challenge, right? And we're going to set up and use AWS CodeArtifact to manage and secure Java dependencies for our applications. So I don't know, have you been taking part in the 7 days DevOps challenge? Maybe that can help as well, but we'll try to go through all the basics again. So we want to build a code artifact, and that's basically what we're seeing here, right? In this part.
If you're able to share your then I can watch proper later the YouTube channel that you guys have, and also look sometimes I suggest to some people because when you go around we see some places some people doing labs tutorials and all these things, but then I have this idea for a long time about I've been to different jobs. I was in situations that you get to the job, you're not really. It's like you have to take the plane from the ground up, like you're a pilot, and you're not a
Okay.
pilot,
Yeah.
and you have to do it straight away, which is not easy. So I was talking to the people here in Sydney. I even gave this idea to them. If you guys want to maybe share the same idea, which is, let's say, you can do a 7 days DevOps, but then try to imagine if you start to get everybody involved here and say, why don't we build a full size project, which is not a lab, which is not a tutorial, which is not just a class, it's pretty much an ongoing project. And then we're going to simulate everything we do at a real company. But to do that, we have to take people who work in the business, people who can take maybe issues they have in there from BAU issues, from projects, and they can actually replicate those things, putting here real size databases, putting here, for example, sort of real applications, and try to simulate the everyday work on that platform. So then everyone involved can pretty much have a Trello board and people can deliver tasks like they do at a real company. Of course, no one in here going to be making any money of that, so people are busy. And the idea is more like people do pretty much every day, every week, as much as they can. And everyone else has to understand that it's not a real company. They can't deliver the same way. But people can make meetings as they do in agile meetings. They can do stand-ups. So then instead of do once or some days projects, you can do exactly what people do at work. So this way becomes something more like an evolving organism. So people can learn from that, and people can pretty much imagine, okay, when I get to a real company, try to imagine if you go to a job right now and you work as an infrastructure engineer for years. Someone say to you, okay, I'll employ as a cloud engineer. You get to the job. You don't know fully everything about what you do in that kind of position. And you have no time because when you get there, people want you to deliver. So they're going to put you to be involved in meetings for BAU and also for projects. And what you're doing there, you're burning because see, learn why you have to deliver is never easy. So if you simulate exactly that kind of idea, instead of people getting ready when they get to the position they would like to have, they get ready way before that. So then when people ask you for experience, because at the end of the day, what is experience? When people say, oh, did you work in any company? You might say, no, I didn't, but I've been part of a open source project, which has everything any company has. And I've been working on that position for years. So yes, you know every day about the meetings, you know every day about the implementations, this strategies and everything like that. So that's just an idea to you guys.
Okay,
Since
okay. Yeah, we really appreciate your your input. I mean, it's a full it's a full project. Yes. So one thing with many people here is that everybody's at different levels. Some they don't even know, like it's just like how would I put it now? Trying to learn, a new language, for instance. Some people don't even know the alphabet yet. Some don't even know some already advanced a certain level, right? So the entire, picture behind this project is for you to get hands-on skills to understand what to do at each stage and work with different, um, different, what's it called now? Different things present on the AWS console in general. So, for example, this project now, you get to work with CodeArtifact, you do code deploy, you do code build, you work with an S3 bucket, you can also, use a code pipeline, you can use cloud formation. So this gives you, a full exposure to different aspects of AWS in general. And remember that we don't have just, AWS alone as a cloud service provider.
yeah,
We also have GCP, we have
Azure.
Azure and all that. So this, network provides the opportunity for us to all learn, gain new experiences with working with AWS in particular. And
Mm-hmm.
we have, I don't know if you visited the site to see, we have a lot of projects now. A lot of projects, they are beginner projects, they are pro projects. So if you want to work on pro projects, they are available for you. Those are a little bit more advanced, more technical than other projects. So, you have different levels of exposure. Some projects work on, Kubernetes, Docker, and the
Uh,
likes, containers and the likes. Then some are focused on, what's this other one now? So we have, just for you to know that we have different skill levels for different people. And then this project is actually more like a beginner-oriented kind of project for people who are new to the cloud and could also, reinforce the knowledge for people who are already familiar with the cloud and cloud services in general. And some don't even have a full knowledge of Bash or scripting or using the Linux interface or using your terminals or using VS Code. So this project, walks you through all of those processes. Some are not even familiar with using the AWS terminal, for instance, your console. Um, Setting up an EC2 instance, understanding what is there, or even using a Git repository. It also walks people through a version control using GitHub. So some people don't even know how to like set up a repository, how to clone that repository, how to push their code and all that, version control in general. So that's the entire purpose of this project, just to help people walk through all of that. But definitely, what you said really makes sense, because another challenge is, after learning the skills, is understanding use cases, how to apply this in the industry, how exactly to do that. So we have pro projects. I've not gone through all myself, but I'm pretty sure that there are certain projects that are there that can also help. This project also, walks us through setting up a web, hosting a website on using AWS, basically. So as a DevOps engineer in this case, you are not primarily, responsible for coding. Your developer will do all the code and all that. Yours is just to package that code and then deploy it. And that's the purpose of this project. It teaches you how to get your developer code from your GitHub, right? And do all the necessary setup using code build, code deploy, code pipeline, and all that. And then hosting that site online. So we will have like a production instance and then a development instance and a production instance. So this is more, also translates to real life skills that you're going to use on the job, because that's where you get to learn how to set up an instance, use VS Code, use version control, and all that. So those are the things that put into it. We have just about 1 hour left for this, and we have a lot to do. So I just want to quickly, try and start something. So if you go to the site, we have these secure packages with CodeArtifact. The link, I think the link is present on the WhatsApp page. For those who are not on the WhatsApp page, you can indicate in the comment section with your phone number, I think. No, just indicate in the comment section. If you're on Zoom, you can indicate in the comment section, and then they'll be able to send you the link to the WhatsApp group page where you can join, and then you'll be able to follow through. So this walks us through CodeArtifact, but I will have to start from scratch again, from the beginning, explaining the entire what we've done so far in the DevOps challenge. So we also have a video for it available on the site by Natasha, who is one of the course, one of the tutors on the from NextWork. So you can also watch our video. It's very explanatory. So the entire purpose of this video of this online meeting is for us to have a discussion. And some people might have worked on this project and encountered some errors. So we are here to help you troubleshoot those errors as well. If there's anybody that's done it and experienced some errors, you can, when we start working on it together, I'll also be touching on the side about some of these things as well. So now, if you visit the site, you can see we have 3 stages: no touch, low touch, and high touch. So this explains, the depth of explanation you are going to get while working on this project. So for somebody who is very experienced, you're on your own, you can just work on the project on your own. For somebody who has some medium experience, can do a low touch. And somebody who is new to DevOps, who is trying to learn what does DevOps really entail? How do we go around these things? Then you use high touch. So high touch will explain everything step by step for you. So we'll be working with high touch today. So basically, project is split into 3 parts. The first part is to launch your EC2 instance. The second part is to set up your web app in the EC2 instance. And the third part is to connect your web app to your GitHub repository. And then from there, you can start doing your version control and all the necessary things there. So, so as you go through this page, you can see we have some projects here. Start your answer in this project also. You can fill up all this, and when you are done, you can easily generate a portfolio or a documentation of the project you've done that you can share on your various platforms, either LinkedIn, Twitter. You can share there. You can also, use this as a framework to share some projects. If you can put it on your GitHub page as well. You can embed it in your, your CV or your portfolio. NextWork also allows you to also provide a portfolio page on this side here. So if you just click here, you see portfolio. Some of the projects you do, you can keep them here. And later on, you can share these projects with other people just for them to see what you've done, basically. So this is just walking us through some of the things that are available here. Okay.
This thing that I was explaining to you actually is a bit different than what you guys thinking. I spoke to them another day when they actually doing stuff on Saturday here, 2 weeks ago, and I actually have to just send something to them on their channel because they kind of understood a little bit of what I was explaining. Because just think like this: it doesn't matter the level each person has. When you go to any job, that's what I was trying to explain to you. You're gonna have juniors, you're gonna have seniors. So the idea of creating something like that, you don't need to have someone just because he's a senior, then he's part of that idea. Any level is part of that idea, because when someone hires you to go as a junior or as a mid-level, you're going to be able to pretty much do everything together with a team. So it's more like a team. It's not about, for example, just you there. It's about you taking the lead and other people getting parts on that lead. So pretty much other people start to join more, other people start to be more proactive. because the only way for you to learn something from whatever someone is teaching is if you kind of get your hands dirty and you end up trying to teach other people. So let's say you have someone in the team that you create about what I told you, this idea I told you before, like a real project, a real everyday scenario. And you say, okay, this guy is a junior, this guy is more like a mid-level. So you give the task to the guy in Trello to pretty much do some mentorship to the guy who is a junior. So the guy who is junior going to be learning from another guy in the group who is more experienced. So this way is not about just, for example, have someone like you or someone like any other person there who is a main one in the team to teach everybody. Is you delegating to other people according to their level to help each other, because that's exactly what happened in a real job. When you're in a real job, I'm in a meeting, someone say, hey, can you help this guy because this guy doesn't know this kind of solution, this kind of resource. And then someone goes and do a mentorship straight on that guy. So see, this way, people get more motivated because they actually building every day instead of just something they're gonna finish very soon. So that's what I was trying to explain to you. So it's different. It's not about levels. It's about collaborating. It's about working together. So it's about building something that we'll never finish. We'll pretty much stay on and on and on and on. And this way, you're gonna be able to deliver. Let's say I can come to you and say, I have an idea about a migration from a database, and I want to explain to everybody how to switch in between without having any downtime. And what I'm explaining to you right now was actually something that I had to do in a BAU situation. So if you replicate that kind of environment, that's pretty much is translated into experience and also learning. Do you understand my point? So you're actually doing everything you guys doing there, plus you providing an experience that no one else would have ever. So that is more into line. But when I share the stuff with them, I might get back to you guys when I share it, what I'm trying to actually to draw, because I'm trying to send to them like a drawing from this idea, as few ideas, few projects, few BAU things people could apply there, and see how someone could pretty much build this structure. And I understand if it's a cloud, we can't just leave stuff running every day there because we have to pay for that, right? So the idea of things like this is pretty much using something like Terraform, CloudFormation. Build something, test it, see how it works, done. Destroy everything, of course. And if there is anything we can build and keep running just to see how it works, I'm talking about not just BAU, I'm talking about more like a project, then would be another idea too. But then, of course, everyone else will have to contribute. So I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense to you.
Yes,
but
definitely. I guess that will be left for the the team at NextWork to figure out how to implement it, right? So our focus here at the moment is to tackle this project together and work on it together, right? So
yeah,
of course,
no problem.
I'm glad you already shared it with them. So I'm pretty sure they're already working on it to see how we can implement that. All right.
No problem.
So thank you so much, Roger. I'm very glad you're here. You're welcome, Omotayo. You're welcome, Kemisola as well. So just to ensure we are on the same page. So I'm here, and then Bamishi Omolasho, and I have Kemisola here with me. So both of us are like the community lead for Lagos, Nigeria, and we have I think you're on the WhatsApp page, right? So we have the WhatsApp page where we respond to people who have any questions or challenges with their projects, and then there are other people on the page as well that are also available to help for whenever anyone has any questions or any issues with their projects. Then we also have the NextWork community page that is open to everybody to sign up, and then there are tons of projects available for everybody to practice. All right, so this CodeArtifact project, again, this diagram here, architectural diagram, shows the steps that we are following. So you create your IAM user, you launch your instance, and from there you connect it to a GitHub. right? Your repository, and yeah, down to CodeArtifact. So this is where we are at the moment. So we are doing this and we are doing this. Then down to code build. So that's where we are at the moment. And then we are trying to figure that out together. So we'll be using the iTouch to make it easy to follow. So we basically were starting with launching an EC2 instance. So I was just trying to play around some things prior to now. Let me delete this previous instance. So we'll just work on it together, like starting afresh. So let's have a look at our instances. So you log into your accounts. You want to launch an instance, so you click launch instance. So let's just call this properly Gauss, right? So we just to do like a walkthrough step by step. So you launch your EC2 instance, and so I mean the page is very, very very easy to follow. So I've deleted mine. So launch an EC2 instance. So what we're following, my location right now. Okay, London. So you just follow these steps. Very easy. So we'll do this. Choose Amazon Linux, leave T2 Micro, then under key pair, we select our key pair, and then we'll move on from there. So launch this instance, Linux, free tier eligible, basically. Then we can create a key pair or use an existing key pair. Let me try to create a new one. Okay, so create new key pair. So I can call it NextWork key pair. Lagos. Okay, so rsa.pem and then create key pair. Okay, can save this here. Then, so here, now for your security group, we can create a new security group, right? So security group, provides a level of security at the level of your instance. Okay, so we can edit this to my IP, but sometimes people have issues with changing IP address because this is like a practice for us. Ideally, you should, as a best security practice, you should just change this to your IP address or a custom IP address that can only have access to your instance. But for the purpose of our project and to avoid us having IP issues later on, we can basically just use anywhere, or we should use an IP. Let's use my IP, and let's my IP so that if we encounter any issues, we'll know what to do from there. So basically, we launch instance. So while that is being set up, now if at any point you encounter any problems, you can always visit the NextWork community. Okay, or if anyone has worked on it here and you have questions, you can ask. So set up your web app. Now, we want to set up our web app, and how do we do that? We need to, first of all, go into VS Code. I have VS Code open on the side here, and SSH into our, or let me say remote SSH into our terminal, right? But before we do that, we want to open your terminal, and then you have to navigate to the directory where you downloaded your key pair. So for me, I have that in desktop. So CD means change directory. I think I have it in Lagos, then March. So this is where my key pair is. The one I just downloaded is this NextWork key pair Lagos now. When you first download your key pair, you need to change the permissions to that key pair. Otherwise, you won't be able to connect to your instance. You know, basically, when you do your SSH-I, okay, to connect to your instance, let me open this instance. So if anyone has any questions along the way, please feel free to ask. We are here for everyone. So yeah, this is the one I just created. So basically, you just copy your T2, your IPv4 address. So you put NextWork key pair here. So we're working on this. We want to, use secure shell to connect to our EC2 instance from the VS Code terminal, so that anything we are doing at VS Code terminal, we don't need to come to open our console, subsequently. So you just do EC2-user at, then we paste our IPv4 address there. So it's not going to connect because of when you type in yes. So this private key will be ignored. It's required that your private key are not accessible by others. So you said the permissions are too open. So to ensure that we work on that permission issues, we do ICA-CLS. So this is what you will use for Windows, right? For Linux or Mac OS, what you will use is different. You just use this command and that's all. But for Linux, for Windows rather, you use this. So we put in this first one, right? And paste this here. So just look at my VS Code terminal on the other side. So paste this here and then enter, then this other one. So you copy this, okay? Now, to get your username, you need to use, to know your username, okay? You type who am I in your terminal. Now, you can see I have Bamishe-Omolasho here, /Bamishe-Omolasho. So this is your user. This one is your user. This is your PC name, okay? So this is what we want to focus on, right? Because I'm seeing a lot of people have issues with this connection. So we do this again, and so grant R, then we want to put in this username. So you come here and then you put this and Bamishe Omolasho, right? And then R, then close this. Okay, then enter. Oh, okay, I think I chose the wrong keypad. So ICA-CLS, NextWork, Lagos, key pair Lagos, yeah. This is the one I want to use. Okay, reset. Okay, so ICA-CLS, okay, then / grants R, my username, Bamishe Omolasho, and R, okay, and then you do it one more time. So just, some of you might think that I'm typing, fast here. So ICA-CLS, once you type in N, part of, your Linux or what you can use your terminal, you just press a tab key. So tab key will complete the entire thing you are typing if the file is present in that directory. Okay, so it just makes things faster. So that is the key pair. Then you do the last part, inheritance. Okay, and then
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you care maybe to mention to people also about rotation in key pairs, because a lot of people they create keys for the sake of creating, but they don't think about rotation, like to limit the window of opportunity for people to access that, because this thing is all about security. Everything you do is about security in the end. Because if someone stores a key, or some people, they tend to create a PM key and they save somewhere and they don't pay attention. One day they start to look for that key, they can't access, and sometimes it's somewhere in their computer. So see, they store anywhere. They don't understand anything about rotation. Therefore, they are already failing in the beginning when they created the PM key. Because that's a big problem normally people have in general. Rotation and where. If they, for example, how do they manage the keys? If they use like a secrets manager, how do they automate the process? I don't know if you have time to mention all that anyway, because I know it's a short time you have there.
Yes, actually. So there's AWS Key Management Service. We have the AWS Secrets Manager as well. And so all of this basically, just like what you said, contributes to helping you rotate your keys and helping you, maintain a high level of security. So your security can come at different levels, your either at your instance level, your security group, your what's it called now? Your subnet, your VPC. So it's part of the things that very, very important. So for this, one part to the AWS or cloud space in general is that there's hands-on skills, and then you also need to understand why you're doing what you're doing. So what I would recommend for many people is to enhance your knowledge if you're new to the space, is to try to take the certification courses like the cloud practitioner solutions associate level or the developer associate. All of this will deepen your knowledge into why you're doing what you're doing on the cloud in general. I think that would really, really help. So just to walk through the command that we did so far, NextWork keepers and target file dash inheritance removes all inherited permissions, dash grant R grants specific permissions, and then this grants read-only permission to your current Windows user. So now we have our keeper we've done the correct permissions on the keeper. So we want to connect to the EC2 instance, right? So you do your SSH. You select your NextWork keeper, EC2 user at, okay, then you paste your IPv4 address. Good. So we are in our instance. Very, very simple and straightforward. Sometimes some people might have some issues here. It's very likely that the issue is coming from your port. If you see something like port 22 connection error, it means that there's an issue or there has been a change in your IP address, and you need to update your IP address in your security group. I didn't get that error yet, so I won't be going too much into it, but just for you to know ahead. So later on, I mean, maybe by tomorrow now, and I come to try to do this SSH again, it's very likely that there might have been a change in my IP, and then I won't be able to SSH into this. So I'll need to visit my security group and update the IP address there before I'll be able to do what I need to do. So we've done all this. The next step is to install Maven. Okay, so to install Maven, this is a code that we need. Now, for some people who are also new, I would encourage you to copy this code line by line rather than copying everything at once. Ideally, you can copy everything at once, and then you shouldn't have any issues. But sometimes I notice that people have issues. So I'll just say you should just take it, one line after the other. You are less likely to run into, errors, especially if you are new, because you might not be able to interpret some of these things in general. So I'll just walk us through what each one does. It's in the project itself, it's in the documentation. So we'll just do all this and then complete this. So basically, this is what these commands do. So the first command, the first one we saw here, is basically downloading, okay, the setup file for Apache Maven. And then the second command extracts this downloaded package and saves it in a folder called OPT. And then the last two commands saves a path to the extracted package so that you can run Maven commands directly from this. And if you are wondering where OPT is, if I just do a CD slash be able to find it. So this is basically where it is. So you can see it here. If I go back, I type ls. So we can see everything that is present in the EC2 instance. Basically, how will I play now? The root directory. Okay, that's root over there. So to go back to where we were before, you just do cd home. And if you press this, you can see your EC2 user present here. So you do EC2 user. So the file that we downloaded is here. So this is what we downloaded. Then we extracted this and put it in this folder. And then we saved the path to that folder so that our we'll be able to locate it easily each time we need to run anything that is dependent on Apache Maven. Okay, so then the next step is to install Java, and then this is what we need to do. So we install this and then paste that. Again, I like to take it line by line because I notice for many people, when they have some issues with their code, they are able to pinpoint exactly where the issue is, but it basically follows the same thing we did before. You download it, then you save the path so that we'll be able to find it easily anytime we need to make use of it. So that's the next step. Then we just wait for this, complete. So the first command tells Java Amazon correct 8, installs it. Then the second tells your EC2 instance how to find it, just like I said. And then the last command, saves the location so that your instance can find it without needing to type out the locations, in code each time. So copy this last one as well. And we are good to go. So then the next thing is, ensuring we have these things installed. So Maven, check the version, and voila, here we have it. And then we'll check for Java as well. Good. So we have both installed. The next thing will be installing the web app. Okay. Before we do this remote connection. Now we want to create our Java web app. So since we have installed Java and Maven on our instance, we'll create the Java web app, and that's basically using this code. So this would, you are using Maven, okay? This Maven, the archetype, you are generating the, let me say like the framework for the code itself. So this command basically tells Maven to create a new project from a template, which Maven calls an archetype. And these are the details. You are giving it all these details. So to run the command without pausing for user input. And so Maven will go ahead and install everything without waiting for your confirmation. So that's basically what all this does. So we should be in the NextWork web project. Let's sit down. Okay, so we'll paste that. Let me see what we have here. All right. So we'll paste that here. Okay, and then enter. So we are saving all that. So we can go back and then do the remote SSH connection now. Although, I mean, it doesn't matter the order, but I just prefer it this way. So I know that, okay, I've installed the app, then I can do my remote SSH connection. So to do your remote SSH connection, for people who are new, who do not have SSH on their system, you come here. Let's see. Okay, so you go to extensions and then you search for remote SSH. Okay, I have it installed already. So you click this and then click install if you do not have it installed. Or if you have it installed, you don't need to do all that. Okay, then you simply come to the bottom of this section here. You can see open a remote window. So you click that and then you click connect to host. You can see remote SSH. So you click connect to host. You click add new SSH host. Okay, then you have to type in your code, right? How we connect with our secure shell. So SSH-I. So now we need the key pair that we were using, right? We need that key pair. So you copy the directory to your key pair, basically. So you copy the directory to your key pair. So this is the key pair we're using. Come to home, click copy paths, okay? And that basically does it for you. So you paste it here. So paste, then ec2-user at. So we need to paste in our what's it called now? Yeah, IPv4 address. Okay, then press enter. Now click this SSH config. Okay, then click open config. Many people make the mistake of clicking connect. Click open config first. Okay, to be sure that you have it there, right? Be sure you have it there so you can see it. This first one we just put here now. Okay, and then you save it, Control S to save it. Now that you saved it, you do the SSH connection again, and then click remote SSH. Click this first one, okay, your IPv4 address basically. Then you wait for it to connect. Okay, so you select Linux, you can push this to the side. So you're setting up, and yes, we are in our EC2 instance basically. So if you look at the bottom here, you can see SSH, then your EC2 IPv4 DNS address, right? So you can just open a terminal there, very easy. Now, if you notice something here, we did not have to do another SSH because this entire window is the remote SSH connection. So we're using that to gain access to our terminal easily. And then once you type in ls, you can see your project there already. So if I click open folder, I can select NextWork web projects and then click OK. It might ask you, ask questions like, do you trust this? Then you select yes. Yes, so you trust the authors. So yes, I trust the authors. So then click come up here, okay, to open your terminal, select new terminal. So we are in the web app already, okay? So that's what we want to start working on next. Hope I'm not going too far. Does anybody have any question? So the next is setting up your GitHub repository, right? Because we want to push everything we've done here to our Git repository, okay? So you go to GitHub. If you don't have an account, you can create one. So once you set up your GitHub account, let me see master. Okay. So we did this the last time, but I'll be creating a new repo just for everybody to walk through. So you select new, okay, and then we can call this NextWork Lagos. Let me put March 30, just to identify the date a little bit or something. Or let's say, let me say March projects. Anything basically. Then add a README file. Okay. Then select create repository. So we're basically following this step by step. Okay. To clone this, you need to clone this repository into or set up GitHub, okay, in your EC2 instance. At the moment, we don't have anything. If you try to use any git command, let's say git status, for instance, you see bash git command not found. Okay, so that means we need to install git here, right? And how do you do that? You just use these lines of code. So this one basically updates your environment in case there's anything that might not be compatible, just for you to make sure that everything is up to date. Then you use this to install Git, right? And then we have so now Git to be installed. So if I try to use a Git command, it's likely to tell give me something, not instead of command not found, get a different response. So let me use Git status, for example, not a Git repository, okay, or any of the parent directories. So now is identifying that fine. This is like Git has been installed, but we don't have a repository there yet. So to get a repository into this, we need to clone that repository. Okay, we can just check the Git version. So we need to clone our repository here. Now, the way you can do the cloning, there are different ways you can do it. You can use different commands to get it here. The one I'll be using is slightly different from what we have here, but I'll just walk us through what is here. So you set up your GitHub repository, log into your GitHub account, create a repository like I just showed us. So what is GitHub? GitHub is like a social network for code where developers store their project, track changes, and collaborate with others, right? And it uses Git, a version control system, to keep track of every change made to your code. So it means you can see who changed what, when it was changed, and even roll back to previous versions. So that is why GitHub is like extremely important to whatever you do as a programmer, basically, because that is where you house your code, and then you use Git to do all your processes, basically, in it. And so first, we want to initialize a Git repository, right? That's what we want to do. So you do your Git init, okay? So now we've initialized an empty Git repository. If you try to do that Git status that we did before now, so it's recognizing that this is a Git repository, right? And we have some things there, the pom.xml and then the src that has not been, what's it called now? That has not been pushed yet, okay, to the origin. Let me try to use that explanation a little bit. So we have this on GitHub, right? So we want to get this. We want to clone this into our Git repository, basically. That's what we want to do. So you can copy this. Let me see, where can I get? Okay, I can use this and just probably new file. Paste this here. Now, you are going to need what we call, so this is the command you basically want to use, git clone, okay? But then you also need what we call a token. So for that, you click settings, you go to settings on GitHub, and then go to developer settings. Okay, and then click personal access tokens, then click tokens classic. Then we can create an access token for our projects, basically. So I already have one that I use for my project. So I can just copy, I think I'll copy that if it's not so far away. Yeah. So now your access token, can, let me just show us how to generate one, basically. So you okay. So you give it a name, right? Can be token for practice, anything basically. Your expiration date can be 7 days, 60 days, 90 days. Ideally, make it as short as possible, especially if you're not going to be using it for a long time, just because it's like practice. So we can choose 7 days, right? Then you select repo, okay, for all this. Then you click generate token. So I'm not doing that because I don't need it. When you get your token, you can only access it once. So subsequently, you won't be able to use that token again. You won't be able to copy that token again. So when you copy the token, you should copy it into a safe file that nobody can access. You should basically treat it like your password. Okay. So at the end of this project, I'll be deleting this token because I won't be using it anymore because it's already open to everybody. So it's no longer like a private stuff again. So your tokens are meant to be kept privately where nobody has access to it. So yeah, just trying to use this. Okay. So you paste that into your you paste that into your terminal, okay, and then we know we have, what's it called now? Oh, I see. We shouldn't have done git init earlier. All right, so we already have this. So if I try to do like a git add, let me remove this other repository that I just cloned into it. I don't know if anyone has like any questions or has worked on this project and encountered some issues, and then you would like to like talk about it. Right, so we have this. Okay, we have an int here to remove the other project that we cloned into it, the git reports. If that isn't working, so what we've done so far is basically just following this step by step. So we want to connect our web app here. So connect our web app to GitHub basically. So that's what we are doing. In case anyone is following us, so we launched our EC2 instance if you're new, and then we set up the web app. Then now we are connecting our web app to GitHub. We can just have a run through together. Okay. I'm taking us back one step to setting up our web app, basically. We've done SSH connection, and then now we want to set up this web app again. Yeah. So ls, then we can go into the web app. Yeah. So that's what we have here. So we can clone this repository here. Okay, I don't think Git is already here. If we try to check for Git now, you see Git status. Okay, not, let me do Git version. Okay, not a Git repository and all that. So this is where we are connecting to GitHub. Okay, so we are following this. Okay, we want to initialize the repository here. Have it. Branch and it. So now our local and GitHub repositories, okay, they are not automatically linked, so we need to connect them, and that's what we try to do now using a remote add origin. So then the next step is, okay, so now we try to see what we have. So if I do Git, so Git status will show you what you have that has not been pushed to your remote repository. That's the online interface, the one we have here. Let me try and go back to that repository. So we have Roger, Kemisola, Adeyemi, Ijoma present here. I don't know if anybody has like any questions so far. So basically, this is all we have. Okay. On the GitHub page, it's just the README file that is there. Okay. So we want to push everything that we have here down over there. So if I do git add, okay, as the first step, then so this stages all the files in your NextWork projects to be saved in the next version. So what does staging mean? You're basically telling Git to put together all your modified files for a final review before you commit them. Okay. And then the next step is using your Git commits. So Git commits will tell you, okay, let's it says the changes to a snapshot in your project history. So this means your project version control history has just saved your latest changes in a new version. Okay. And then the -m is like a message you can use to tag it. Let me try and use a different one here. So if I do git commit -m, let's call this first commit, right? Then you put that in. So now when you make a remote repository, Git will ask you to do some configurations, to try to tell Git who you are. So that is why you need to, give it or provide your username, okay, and then probably your email as well. So we can do that. So I have that already. So you do git config -- global user.name, and then give it your name. Then you can also do the second part. You have git config -- global user.email, and then put in your email as well. Okay, then we try to do our git push dash u origin main, right? Okay, so this is saying that authorable, if you want to increase, use git pull before pushing again. Let me see why we have this. Try this other one, git push dash u origin mask. So I guess this is having some issues with the access, the remote access. The upstream. So we have git branch upstream. We did this command before. Know why it's not probably have to. I'll just use what we have here. When I clone this, it's usually different. I don't know why it's not working the way I intended. So we'll just try to have it, try it another way again. And yes, welcome to Troubleshooting 101. It's part of what you do. We're trying to set up different things. So we installed Apache there. And here we did, okay, remove NextWork web projects and install it again. Putting in our project again. Yeah, to come back to actually Let's check for it again. Okay. Of this. It's initialize first. This so follow this. Then do git add it commit let's call this first commit. Okay. And we want to push this. Name. So password will be your token. I think that is it. Your password will be your token. And yeah. So if we visit GitHub again, you can see master had recent pushes 2 seconds ago already. So you can visit, you can compare now. Everything we have on our local, everything we have on our EC2 instance is now present on GitHub. So that's basically like the advantage that comes with, using version control basically. So this is the one we just created now. Okay. Now, if we check the branch, so we have different branches. There's main and then there's master. So select master. Now we can see we have this web app and we can see first commit to show that this is the first thing we pushed to our GitHub page, right? So I just following, this step-by-step project basically. So we've done all this and we'll use our GitHub token. And now the next step is, okay. So I've explained all this. Now we've checked the codes. Okay, so run the following command to configure Git to use the store credential helper. And let's see if that will work for us as well. Then you do git push. Now it's still asking us for our details. Okay. Authentication failed. So we'll do git push. Okay, so let me just type this. Then you have to copy your token again. Then paste that instead of your password. Yeah, everything is up to date. Good. So now we have our GitHub set up. The next step is now working on CodeArtifact itself. Now to do this, you have to, CodeArtifact is a fully managed artifact repository service. We use it to store and manage our product dependencies, ensuring secure and reliable access to Java packages. So it's important because it provides a centralized, secure, and scalable way to manage dependencies for our Java projects. So this helps to improve build consistency and security. So this is where we are now. We've done GitHub. Now we want to do CodeArtifact. Good. So now we have to visit our console, search for CodeArtifacts. Okay. So I just following this step by step. We have Adeyemi on the call, Wheezy, Ijoma. I hope we are following. If you have any questions, you can ask. So now we've talked about CodeArtifact a little bit. So we want to create a repository and we can give it this name. Basically, where's it? CodeArtifact. So we can give it a name. Then in the description, we can put this into the description. Though it's optional. I think upstream you look for Maven. Okay, so if you check, so the upstream, select the checkbox to Maven Central Store. Okay, so upstream repositories are like backup libraries that your primary repository can access when it doesn't have what you need. So if we don't set this up, when we get to code build, it's the build might fail. Sometimes it might need some extra dependencies that are not present in what you've already set up. So this would always check the store for anything that you need. So Maven Central is essentially the app store of the Java world. It's the most popular public repository where developers push and share Java libraries. Okay. Now, so the CodeArtifact domain. So I think on the next page, that's what we have. So selecting your domain, basically. So it's a folder that holds multiple repositories belonging to the same project or organization. So we like using domains because they give you a single space to manage permissions and security settings that apply to all repositories inside it. Okay, so we are going to be using our account and then we'll give it a name. We can just give it this name, NextWork. Okay. So you do that by just following step by step. So give it a name. Now we can see that we have a
hello,
an
good
AWS
evening.
key. Hello, good evening.
This is a member of the community. So I just joined now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Great to have you here.
Thank you so much, sir. So I'm seeing VS Code. So, sir, please, what's the project?
So this project we're working on CodeArtifact.
Oh,
so,
CodeArtifact.
Yes. So we are starting from let me just show us at the beginning. So it's the DevOps project series, right? Walking us through setting up a web app and then hosting that web app, and then doing all of that on the cloud, basically AWS. So we're using we are setting up an EC2 instance as our production server. Then the other one will be we're going to create another one later on. You can see which will be our web server, which would be for the web server itself. And then we are now, doing all the necessary steps till we get there. So the first step is launching your EC2 instance. And in that instance is where we are going to put in all our files, our web app, our project dependencies will be there. Then we'll need some other tools present in AWS to make this work. So one is the CodeArtifact, which would be like our repository to house all our dependencies and code projects that works hand in hand with your EC2 instance. Then we are using GitHub as our version control, using Git for the version control system so that we can always pull our projects from there, make any changes, and from there connect it to our pipeline. So that's basically what we are doing so far. So where we are right now is the CodeArtifact. We just figured out the GitHub part. Now we are focusing on the CodeArtifact aspect. So you select create repository here. Okay. Now there are certain instructions we need to follow. Okay, so you click view connection instructions, just for us to see where it is here. So we're setting this up. Then the next step is so we've done all this. Okay, and now good. So great. So now we'll set up the repository. Okay. So the next step is to create an IAM policy for code artifact access. So now, I don't know how many of us are familiar with all these terms: IAM policy, IAM user. All of these are best security practices that come with AWS. So if you take the cloud, I think Cloud Foundations practitioner, I can't remember the name now, or the Cloud Solutions Architect, you have
CCP.
you have a good idea of how all these things work. When you hear IAM rule, when you hear IAM policy, when you hear IAM user, so you'll be able to understand it better. But I'll just try to touch a little bit on it. So for Maven to work with CodeArtifact, we need to create an IAM rule that grants our EC2 instance the permission it needs to access CodeArtifact. So now, when you create, let's say you create we're all familiar with like social media, for instance. So let's say I create an Instagram account, right? And I don't want to, I want that account, I want to do a setup for that account to automatically go into my directory, pick a picture from there and post it for me without me doing anything, right? To configure that access, I need to use something called, I need to attach a policy I need to use a rule to create that internally. So basically what AWS is saying is that your EC2 instance, instead of me having to do it manually each time, I can create a rule that will attach to my EC2 instance, and then it will contain all the permissions it needs to be able to go into CodeArtifact and do anything it needs to do there. So that's basically what that IAM rule is. Sometimes we can do some edits in the IAM policy for CodeArtifact itself. And in that policy, we can say we don't want this, we don't want certain things to be able to have access to CodeArtifact. So we have different levels of permissions and controls present in AWS. You can either apply it to, let's say, I have a company, for instance, and we have different people, different developers. Some are in the DevOps team, some are in the software engineering team, or let's say the that are primarily in charge of working with the code. And we want to control access to different resources. Sometimes we want to control. We don't want anybody, because we are spending money here, we don't want anybody to just create anything and deploy anything anyhow. We might want to apply certain policies and rules to prevent them or control what they have access to, so that you don't wake up one morning and discover that all the money in your AWS account is gone, for instance. So that's basically what we're doing. So we want to connect code Maven with CodeArtifact. So we'll do this by create a new IAM policy, and we'll set up that policy to grant EC2 instance and access to CodeArtifact. So that's what I just talked about now. So so we're going to click on view connection instructions, then we'll configure, follow the steps one after the other. So I think we're using Mac and Linux. So yeah, Mac and Linux. Maybe, okay. Yeah. So our EC2 instance is Linux based basically. So we are going to use all of this. Okay. Now, how we are going to do it is what we are seeing now. So yeah, so that's what I just said now. So the EC2 instance is Linux based, right? So we're using Maven, which is a tool we use to install and manage the building process for our Java web app. So that's this. So now the configuration method is set to pull from your repository. So export the code artifact authorization token. Okay, so this basically is like to export this, for the authorization to your repository from your Preference shell. So it just means you need to run the command to give your terminal a temporary password that will grant your development tools, that's Maven, access to repositories in CodeArtifact. So we'll just, copy the code, okay, and paste it in our terminal. That's the first one. So we have this, we copy this, right? And paste that in our terminal, okay? And then voila. Now, so yes, good. So unable to locate credentials, great. So we need to be able to figure this out together. So now it's a good security feature in action. Your EC2 instance essentially saying, I don't know who you are, so I can't let you access code artifacts. So this happens because your EC2 instance doesn't have permission to access your other AWS services. And again, AWS follows the principle of least privilege, meaning resources only get the minimum permissions they need to function. Again, I would just like to encourage everyone to do more read up. And basically where you get this knowledge is when you take the certification courses that will help you to build the necessary baseline for you to understand how all this works. Okay, your IAM policy. So IAM is identity and access management. And we even have some projects, in NextWork that works primarily on all of this, exposing you to the security and how to use IAM, everything about your IAM rules, your IAM policies, and all that. So policy is a set of rules for who can do with or what with your AWS resources. So they determine what actions are allowed or denied for a specific IAM entity like your EC2 instance. So now we want to create a policy and do that and attach that to what's it called now? Our EC2 instance, basically. So we're going to, where's this now? So we are just following this together. Good. So now we need to visit IAM. So we'll have a look at the policies that we have there. We are going to create our own policy. Okay. I think I have some of these things here already, but I'm not sure. Good. We will paste that there. Okay. So this basically tells you what's the difference, what's this policy, like we read earlier, explains what has access or what doesn't have access to your code artifact repository. So let's look at it. So the code artifact action, this gives permissions to get authentication tokens, find repository locations. Then we have the resource as well. Okay, then if you want to explore the policy line by line, you can always have a look at this from the project itself. Okay, so now then we'll paste all that and then we'll give it this name. Okay, it's essential you follow this step by step so that you don't have issues with your project later on. And give it your policy name. Then the description can be this. Okay, so we'll paste that description. Is there any other thing we need to edit? Good. We'll review the summary, so code artifacts, and then this. Now we can click our policy. Great. So let's look for it together. So we'll search for, I think, was consumer something, right? So this is code artifact. So we have a policy there. Now we need to attach it, right? Now we have created the policy. So we'll attach this policy to a role, and then associate that role with your EC2 instance.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please, I beg your pardon. If you can just repeat the step of the I am area again.
All right. So
Thank you, sir.
now we have set up our EC2 instance and our web app is there. And then we have also set up our code artifact, right? Now, code artifact contains like it's not your store for your packages, your app packages, your dependencies. We're using Maven and we're using it's essentially a Java web app, and then we're using Maven as well. So for our EC2 instance to be able to have access to code artifact, we need to do some setup. Okay, AWS has, every resource has a policy attached to it. Okay, so that limits what and who and what can have access to that resource. Okay, so now we have IAM users. We have a resource. As a user, for instance, when you create your account, you have your root user, and then you can create an IAM user. That's identity and access management user. So for best practices or security best practices, AWS recommends that your root account should not be used for everyday projects or everyday tasks. Rather, create an IAM user and attach administrator access to that IAM user. So that IAM user can do every other thing. So in case of a security breach, for instance, if your IAM user has a security breach, it's not going to affect your entire account, right? So it's the same thing we are, applying here. Your EC2 instance is a resource on its own. It's not like a human being. It's not a human being that can do things. It's not an IAM user. It's an AWS resource, just like your CodeArtifact, just like every other resource that we have, S3, and all that. So everything, each of them, they are resources on their own. Now, for these resources to speak to each other and have access to each other, you need to set up what we call, you need to edit their policies to indicate that. Now, in the CodeArtifact policy, I'm writing in that policy that I want my EC2 instance to be able to have access to code artifacts, right? And that is essentially what we have done by creating this policy, this code artifact NextWork policy. So this shows what we can do. If you look at this, you can see it's saying allow. It says allow is like creating an opening for our EC2 instance to be able to have access to code artifacts and do whatever it needs to do with the repository. So that is essentially what we've done so far. Now, after creating that policy, we need to attach it, okay, to our EC2 instance IAM role. So that's what we want to do now. So you attach your IAM policy and verify code artifacts connect. So we create a new role for our EC2 instance, okay, and attach that role to the EC2 instance. So then we will run the export token command and all that. So what we basically want to do is creating the role first. So the role, IAM role, is a set of permissions that you can assign to your AWS resources. So we are creating an IAM role for the EC2 instance to get code artifact access. Okay, and this will grant you the permission to the service you need to use. So now the question, what's between a policy and a role? So policy is like a list of permissions. It's a document that specifies exactly what actions are allowed or denied. Okay, and then the role is a container that holds these policies and can be assumed by users, applications, or services. So you attach policies to roles and then assign the role to whoever needs those permissions. Do we get it in a way?
Yes, I do.
Good. Yeah. So it's like your policy is like, how do I put it now? It's like having a rule document. This document shows what allows or what does not, what has permission and what does not have permission. But that document on its own cannot take action. So you need to attach that document to something that has the ability to take action. And that thing is your IAM role, right? And with that together, you will now be able to use it to access the resources or the services that you need. So that basically like puts it in a picture in a way. So now we'll work on creating that role. So this is very, very essential, because if you are going to be using different AWS services, you have to work with using roles, policies, and we have different forms of policies. We have service control policies, we have identity-based, we have resource-based policies, and all that. And all of these have like different ways that you approach them. Okay. So we want to create a role now, right? I think I don't have a role for it already. So create a role. Then now this role, what will it enable us to do? Okay. So it's I think AWS, we want to access a service, right? Then that's the first step. So we want to access a service, and then the service is EC2, and the role will be the instance. So we have the use case, so EC2. Okay, and we'll move on from there. And you click next for your permissions. Now, where is it? Here. Good. Now, what permissions will we have? So that is the policy that we created before. Code artifacts. So that will be this one. Okay, then we go next. Okay, then review and create. So the role name, we can use this. Then the role, the description. So we can see the description. So this will allows EC2 instances to call to access services related to network. So if we just go with what we have there, so this allows EC2 instances to call AWS services on your behalf. In this case, the service that is EC2 instance will be able to call is the code artifact. Okay. We can then just replace it. So related, so because it's the like network CI/CD pipeline series, at the moment, it's just code artifact that it has access to at the moment. So we'll move on from there. Okay, can close this, then create our role. And basically, that's what we have. So we are going to add other policies to this along the line of this project. Okay, so since we have this rule, we'll be attaching more policies to it later on. So so we'll go back to our instance. Here it is now. So by the time you keep doing this, from time to time, you are going to be very familiar with it. You will know what to do. If you want to have access to a different resource or a service, you know how to, create your role, attach your policies where necessary. Select this, then choose actions now. And what do we have here? Yeah, under security. So we have modify IAM role. So the role that we just created is this one. Then you click update IAM role, basically. So we select that, then choose update. So now this EC2 instance has can now do what we need it to do, basically. So this is part of, I'm not sure you heard when somebody was talking about key rotation and credentials rotation, I think. So when you attach a role to an instance, AWS automatically provides and rotates temporary security credentials for that instance. This means that applications running on the instance like Maven build can automatically use these temporary credentials to make API calls without you having to handle credential management. Okay, so now we are going to rerun this, but then in our terminal, there's something we need to do before we rerun this authorization token. Okay. It's telling us you can configure credentials by running AWS configure. So when you run AWS configure, it's going to ask you for something, your access key ID, which we do not have at the moment. So how do you get your access key ID? So you simply get that from your instance. What is it called now? You need to go to your IAM user. You check your user account. So the user I'm using here is NextWork Lagos. Now we don't have an access key, so we need to create an access key. We have that here. Oh, sweet. I don't think it's present here, but I've worked on this project before, and I know that was I think a particular issue I experienced. We might not necessarily need this. Let me skip this and go back to this and paste this. Since we have set up our IAM role, we should work. Yeah, so we didn't need to do that. Okay. So our is now set up. Yeah, I think we just did this part. We just did this now. Great. So we'll resolve the error. Okay, you successfully attached the IAM policy and role to your instance. So it has permissions to access code artifacts securely. So now we'll verify the connection. So now let's make sure everything's set up correctly by verifying our connection. So we'll configure Maven to use CodeArtifact and then try to compile our web app, which should now show download dependencies from CodeArtifact, basically. So to finish all these settings, okay, we'll compile the project using the settings.xml file, and then we'll see our CodeArtifact repository automatically store our project dependencies. Okay, so what we are basically doing is looking at the the code connections. Okay, now we'll use the code in each step in a minute, but we have to set up a special file called settings.xml. And how do we set that up? You go into VS Code, right? We have this there already. How do we put this now? I think I need to refresh this. So I'll see. Okay, so we are putting this in the root repository. No, not here. I look at this. Yeah. You select that and then create this. So we call it settings. Yeah. So we have the file open. Then what you do is you copy all the other aspects of that connection, and then you put that in between these two. Okay. So you go back to CodeArtifact, copy steps 4, paste that here, copy step 5, paste that here, and then copy step 6. Okay. Yeah. Then there's something else we need to do. So you add your list of servers, first of all, then 5, and then the profiles. Yeah, there's something we need to change here. Now we can save this file. We have that in. So this settings is Maven's control center. So when you tell Maven how to behave across all your projects. So when we add CodeArtifact information to this file, we're essentially telling Maven, hey Maven, whenever you need to download a dependency, look in the CodeArtifact repository first, and how to authenticate. So that's the next step. Now we can so we want to do our compilation. Good. So you make sure you're in the root repository, then enter. Good. So now we have our repository working. This has been a really extensive project today. So Maven is compiling our projects, and then you see messages like downloading from NextWork DevOps, downloading from NextWork DevOps, and now it's complete. So Maven first looks at your project dependencies and then downloads them from, if they are not present in your project dependencies, then it looks for it in your public repositories, basically. So now we have it fully set up. We can go back and check our packages. Go back and check our packages again and see that we have something there. Good. So we now have packages present in Maven. All of these were empty before. Okay, now we have our packages present, and that is, I think that should be the end of the project for today. So now these packages are carrying your CodeArtifact are proof that the entire system is working. Yeah. So we have a secret mission there for people who will be interested to publish their own package. But to do that, you have to unlock use it as a pro project. So yes, we have successfully come to the end of today's project. I hope it has been an interactive one for us. If you have any questions, if you are trying to do this project on your own and you're encountering some issues, you can always let us know. The WhatsApp group is available, it's open for anybody that wants to join. So yes, we usually have this meeting once a month. Yeah, we used to have this meeting once a month and we work through different projects step by step. And that's the entire purpose of doing this project together. Okay, so we encourage everyone to like visit NextWork websites. You can work on as many projects as possible. If you can see my project and explore different projects on here. Okay, so you can click explore and check my projects. There are several projects for you. We have pro projects using AI, cloud, DevOps projects, working with databases, compute, networks. Basically, there are a lot of projects for you to do, a lot. You can't, and they will all broaden your experience, show you what to do on the cloud, basically. And that's one of the advantages that you get from being active with this. So at the very tail end of this project, we are going to have a live website, right? So I'm going to have a live website, but this is what goes into setting up that website for it to be active and for us to be able to have access to it. So I guess that's the end of today's meeting. I'm so glad to have every one of us here. Roger, Weezy, Kemisola.
Yes, and I'm also glad to have you take the class.
Okay, thank you so much.
So, and this interface now where you have the several projects.
Yes.
Okay, can you like maybe screenshots and maybe send it to the group page? So, because I would like to refer back to it.
Oh, okay. You have the link. You actually have it.
Okay.
Yeah. This one now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on the project page. So if you select projects, you can click, my projects. Click explore.
Okay.
Basically, you can click show more. Let me click 7-day DevOps challenge. So this is how you do you navigate basically. And then you want to go to the main NextWork page. Yeah, it's just how you are able to navigate through, page. You already have it, or I can copy the link, the page, the good page.
All right, sir. Okay, lastly, please, can you please share your VS Code IDE, make it a full screen a bit. I want to see how you. Okay.
So this is where we have the code, and on this side we have our project. We're already into the terminal, like with SSH into the what's it called now? With SSH into our instance already. I can clear all this. So we're already we've done this SSH already. If I close this now and I choose to open it back, I just come here, terminal, new terminal. That's basically what we have. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So, but you know how to do the SSH already? All right. So, do you have any other questions or anything?
All right. So yeah, I'm saying that I know I'll first of all create the inbound rules and so on for my EC2, then come down here, then SSH with with my public IP. Or no, sorry, it's kind of different to SSH on VS Code. Please, if you can just show it, just please demonstrate.
No problem.
Yeah.
So let's say I want to SSH into the instance. Now let me close the remote connection here. So I'll close it. I'll close. Let's see. Oh, let's save this. Let's save this. Let's save this. I need this. I don't need it. Okay, so close remote connection. Good. So I want to do that remote connection again. So you do click this, click connect to host. Right? Then if you've not, okay, I should do it afresh, right? Wizard in there. So you click add new host. Then here, Wizard.
I'm here. I'm
so
here.
SSH-I. Okay. Then you will now look for your key pair that you downloaded when you created your EC2 instance. So that's what you have here, right? So you select that key pair and then come here and click copy path. Then here, paste it. So this SSH-I, and then this is your key pair. Then you do EC2-user at there. Then you copy your IPv4 DNS from your instance. So let me EC2. Instances. You select that, then you copy this, you paste that here, right? You paste. Yeah, it's there. Then you select this first one, this config. Then you select open config. Don't choose connect. Okay. So once you have open config, so now you have the file here. You can see it's here already. So let me delete this ones. So it's the most recent one that you have that you're going to use. Okay, so I can close this. Then make sure you save this file. You can either do Control S or you come to file and then click save. Then you go back again and select that open a remote window. Click connect to host again. Now the recent connection you just did is there. So you select that. Then you choose let me see. So it's trying to set up your host. So okay. So I've connected before. So ideally to tell you to choose between Linux or Windows because our EC2 instance is Linux based. So you select Linux, then it will open this page for you. So you can now choose open folder and then see the web app that we created and then just click open. And now we have access to our web app directly. Okay. And then when you want to open the terminal, you can come here, choose terminal, and then select new terminal. We'll also open the terminal for you too. So this also trying to set up the remote host connection. Oh, we have Natasha here. It's been a while. Great to see you. We're done with the project. We're just trying to work out setting up remote SSH connection because he asked for it. So yeah, so we have our files here already, so we can see everything, the settings of XML, all that. So yeah, do you have any other questions, Wheezy?
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, so when we work on the project and you have any issues with it, you can just send a link on the page or like put a what do I put it now? Send a post on the page. I can send you a Zoom link and we can work on it together.
That's great. Thanks.
All right, so thank you so much everyone for joining. I think we have come to the end of today's meeting.